In this step, we're going to glue up the gears that we're going to be using for the main column. The gear box has 3 separate stages. Back here, the gears are labeled S1, G1, there's 2 of them, and those mount to the servo that's going to drive the column. There's a center stage that has S1, G2 and S2, G1. They're going to be glued together, and we're going to use this little shaft piece to make sure that the shaft's hole stays aligned. In the third stage, this is the one that actually will drive the shoulder and the upper arm, is S2, G2, S2, G2 spacer, and 2 other spacers that are going to be on the outside of this glued up joint. Now I'm going to take each step in succession, treat it like 3 separate sub-assemblies. So let's go ahead and work on the biggest joint first. For this step, you're going to need the S2, G2 gear, the S2, G2 spacer, and these 2 smaller spacers that have all of them have 4 bolt holes on them, so they're easy to identify. Then you're going to need 4 of your number 10 by 1 1/4 inch bolts. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a spacer, we're going to put 4 bolts in it. And what we're going to do is put some glue on the bottom here, and we're going to glue the spacer, the S2G2 spacer, onto it. Then we're going to glue this gear onto that, and this onto that. These 4 bolts will guarantee that we maintain a nice clean alignment for all the shaft holes. So let's go ahead and start gluing this first section. You just need a little bit of glue here. You don't want to overdo it because you don't want to go down in the glue holes. Just enough to keep the spacer glued onto this piece. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what we're doing here. If you have time with the glue, it won't dry. What you really want to do is get the alignment as best as you possibly can. If you're getting wiggle down here, that's actually a good sign. That means you're within the centers of those holes. Okay. So that takes care of one stage. Now we're going to repeat. Now I'm going to put more glue on this part. Go on the outside a little bit too. Now we're going to put the big gear on. I personally like to put the text on the outsides so people can see them. Generally, it's not going to make any difference mechanically. These gears are symmetrical either side. Now we're going to take this piece and put it on top. And here I want to stay close to the insides in between the 4 bolts because the spacer is much smaller. Squeeze that in. Obviously, you'll lose some give as you go through each stage, which is to be expected. There you go. I'm going to drop these out in case any residual glue gets into the holes. And now you can see in here that it's pretty straight. You can see into the holes here, and there's no major obstructions. So that takes care of the one big gear on the top. Set the bolts aside because we're going to use those for assembly when we actually put the column together. Now this is the S1G2 gear and the S2G1 gear. They form a center stage in the gear reduction. So what we're going to do is basically glue this gear onto the back of this gear. Now we're going to use a shaft that comes with your kit to guarantee alignment. This shaft, don't lose this. This will be used later when we assemble the column. I think it's easier to put the glue on the small gear, so that way you won't have a lot of wasted glue on the big gear. Again, we'll just go around some dots of glue and green. I'm going to put the shaft into the big gear. Then I'm going to go ahead and put this gear on top. And then I try to line it up so that way I can feel the shaft wiggling. If the shaft's wiggling, it means I've got some play for when I actually assemble the column. Okay. This feels really good. Now you can see it's got a nice clean hole in it. So we'll set that aside. This gear is a little, so now we're going to work on the drive servo gear. It's labeled S1G1. We make this gear a little thicker to accommodate any travel due to the weight of the arm pressing on the gearbox. This is the bottom of the column, and so therefore it is the most subject to any movement by the gears in the upper stages. Now the key to remember when you glue these two pieces together is that you'll see it says S1G1 gear on both pieces. Those have to be lined up together. Alright? Now to guarantee alignment, what we'll do is we're going to use our small bolts. Number 6 by 3/8. There's 4 of them. Into the holes. Now this guarantees that we have alignment. Doesn't have to matter which 4. I guess I'll be a purist and do that. Alright. That'll guarantee alignment, so your holes are going to be good. And then these 4 bolts will eventually go into the servo hub when we actually assemble the column. So let's go ahead and disassemble this for the moment. So when you glue the S1G1 gears together, it's very important that you have the lettering not only both facing up, but also oriented in the same way. That way you'll guarantee that the teeth and the holes will all line up perfectly. So let's put a little bit of glue on the bottom of this. Then all I could do is drop these little the bolts in to guarantee alignment as we're letting the glue set up. Prevents any problems from happening. And you've done a good job if you can see that the teeth aren't properly aligned with each other, as they are in this case. That's a fully assembled S1G1 gear. So the important thing is to make sure that the text S1G1 on both parts are lined up vertically at the top, and that the text on the back piece is facing out, just like the text on this second gear facing out. That way you can guarantee that all the pins and all the teeth will line up.